Welcome into the Roaring Repeater podcast here on 7220sports.com. I'm your host, Cody Tucker, joined as always by Jared Newland. It's a beautiful summer day in the capital city of Cheyenne, Wyoming. On the eve of Cheyenne Frontier Days, the daddy of them all. Always, you hear this a lot, Jared, especially locals, and I know you're basically a local. You've been here a long time. Locals hate this time of year. They bitch about CFD. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, if you're a small business owner or a business owner at all, you have to love it because of the influx of traffic you're going to get, no matter if you're a bar, restaurant, boutique, whatever, you know. That's great. Traffic is a little different, of course, these 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, this week's been busy just because of what they call slack/qualifying rounds for all the timed events, so there's a lot of rigs around. Mm-hmm. But you already see the people going down one ways the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, saw one earlier today.
Every day I've seen a different vehicle pulled over. It's like, pay attention, folks. And that means if you're a local or coming to Cheyenne, make sure you pay attention because there will be people coming at you in a one-way. So be alert, especially if you're a young driver.
How about a little pub here for your niece, a former Wyoming Cowgirl? She will be competing along with her husband this week.
Yeah, Shayla Hall now. She qualified in the breakaway roping. She had a nice run on, what day was that? Tuesday. I feel bad for her sister. Her sister had a really good run, and she broke the barrier just a little bit, and she came back in the wild card and missed in that one. But, yep, so she'll be up on Thursday, I believe, the 25th?
Yeah, I think so.
And then her husband will be up on Monday in the team roping.
Awesome. Well, good luck to them and all the other former Wyoming Cowboys and Wyoming locals that are going to be in this.
There's a couple of current Wyoming Cowgirls and Cowboys that have qualified too.
Excellent.
So I'll be looking for them as well.
Troy Tillard's one of my favorite, roper from Douglas. Got to know Troy a little bit.
He's like 80 years old and he's still roping.
And he's a bad dude, man. He's a bad dude. I was telling Jared before we came on the air, he made a huge mistake of hooking up VIP passes for the rodeo, 3 years ago?
Something like that.
Yeah, like literally called me out of the blue and said, hey, do you want to go to the rodeo today? My initial thought was, no, it's hotter than hell. I already went once this year. This was air-conditioned, beer, free food, free beer, the whole nine.
The funny thing is, Cody goes, do I need to wear like Western stuff? I said, no, Cody, nope. You be you. We walk into that building. He was a celebrity. Everybody knew him because he was himself.
Well, then Jared says something to the effect of, hey, I'm going to drop you off at home for like an hour and then I'll come back. And then we have something else to do. And I'm thinking, oh boy, we drive up to the governor's mansion, go right in the governor's mansion, still dressed like an asshole, by the way. Everybody's dressed to the nines, like the fanciest cowboy gear under the sun. We're in the governor's mansion, like the president of Wyoming's there. I was so out of my element, but it ended up being a blast.
And the Thunderbirds and their significant others.
Yeah. So. But it ended up being an absolute blast, and now I'm ruined with rodeos from here on out because I will not go sit in the stands in the heat anymore. Refuse. Absolutely refuse. So if you have any VIP tickets, I'm all ears. All ears to be a wig. Pretend big wig for a day.
Might be able to hook you up one day.
I've got other irons in the fire, too. That is a lot of fun.
It is.
You know, I'm not a rodeo connoisseur by a long shot, but now that my buddy Kyle, he watches the Cowboy Channel all the frickin' time, so I'm learning about new rodeos. He has a rodeo on 24/7. So.
Well, I have the app.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, because you can watch. I think there's up to 6 broadcasts going on at one time on the app. So, but with the nieces and their husbands running, and it's like every night I'm checking something out. It's crazy,
cool,
especially
too.
This time of year.
Yeah, because you can watch the Cody Stampede every night.
Yep.
That's really cool. Sheridan Rodeo coming up, I believe.
Last week.
Yep. Yeah. So that was on. Saw another one in Canada that I'd never heard of.
Calgary.
One that I hadn't heard of. I can't remember what the hell it was called.
There's a bunch up there. And then Salt Lake's going on, Spanish Fork.
Did they have like Jubilee Days on there and stuff? I haven't been on this
Jubilee
week.
Days, yep.
Okay. Yeah, so really cool. I've actually partied. Have you ever partied at the Cowboy Channel bar in the Stockyards?
Yes. Went in there, was it this last trip or the trip before? But went in there. It was last fall because I was down there when Wyoming was playing at Nevada.
Oh, that's right.
So we went in there before we went to Billy Bob's, and they had rodeo on, and I said, any chance you can turn to the Wyoming Nevada game? And somebody said, oh, thank you, yes. Something different than rodeo.
I remember a critical mistake that I'm not even going to say his name, but a media member in the Mountain West came to Wyoming for a basketball game in December to cover a game, and went into the library bar and nothing on the TVs except NFR. And he wanted to watch some marquee basketball game and tweeted out, "What the hell's wrong with Wyoming? All they have on is rodeo." Boy, did he get filleted, and rightfully so. Go watch the basketball game in your room.
Yeah.
Love it.
On your phone now.
Yeah. All right, Jared, Mountain West Media Days is in the can. They had it earlier than ever this year. Boy, was it freaking hot. I spent all of about 5 minutes outside that entire trip. It was
And that was
miserable.
to go to the CVS to get gear.
Yes.
So how many Coors did you actually throw down?
Unfortunately, it was Coors Light and a lot, because Coors Light's just
It's water.
yeah. But I had like 4 trash cans in these rooms are awesome too, by the way, at Circa. Had like 4 trash cans, emptied them all, and then turned them into coolers. And we had like 8 media members in the room the first night, and all we did was drink inside because it was too damn hot. And up at the pool area, which is awesome, I mean, it was 117 out, so it was miserable up there, and it was $10 a beer, so we just decided to hit the room. But it was a lot of fun. I want your initial reaction. Cowboys picked 6th in the Mountain West Conference. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that?
Maybe 1 or 2 spots too low, in my opinion. I didn't think they would be above 4th by any means, but I thought maybe 4th or 5th. But it's fine. It seems like Wyoming always performs better when they're picked middle or lower anyway, because there's so much pressure on them. It's different than any other school because of the pressure, because it's one school.
Yep.
They're playing for a state.
Well, talk about pressure. It's funny you bring that up, because I brought this up, and I didn't bring it up to the man himself. I didn't feel it was appropriate, I guess, especially being a Wyoming beat writer. But Troy Calhoun is going into year 18. He's never won a Mountain West title.
And he's played for
one or two. He won, and then the other time they were tied for first, but they got beat on the difference and didn't make it to the title game.
the Craig Thompson coin flip.
Probably, yeah. So, but nobody gives Troy Calhoun any guff, because he beats Navy, he beats Army, he beats CSU. He's 500 against Wyoming. Yeah. But Craig Bowl got a ration of shit for not winning the Mountain West title, and rightfully so. I mean, in a lot of ways, he had the talent.
Some of that might be because he just came off of 3 national championships.
Definitely.
And the first thing he said, those who stay will be champions.
Also, I think it's hard to ignore the amount of players that are going to the NFL and go, how, and I've asked Craig that myself, how in the hell can you justify sending all these cats to the NFL and you're not winning Mountain West titles? And the bottom line is they didn't win enough on the road, and they couldn't beat Boise State.
And you look at it, too, some of these guys, I mean, it's a development program. That's all they preach about. But they're still developing.
Yep.
And those GMs, those scouts, they know that.
Yep.
Give them 1 or 2 more years.
Oh, yeah.
And then, look, and we've seen that with several of these guys.
No doubt.
And, I mean, I know Tashawn Gibson didn't play under Craig, but, PEDs obviously help out, too. I don't know.
I think his career in San Francisco might be over.
6-game suspension?
And they just brought in Simmons, Broncos' former safety.
But,
so.
I mean, look, he's had a hell of a career.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
No doubt.
and if you have to do some of that stuff to keep your body right, there's more than him doing it.
Hey, you don't got to tell me.
He got caught.
Do it openly. So the way it shakes out here, Boise State number 1, no surprise there. I voted Boise State number 1. What's shocking is all 14 years Boise State's been in the Mountain West, they've been picked number 1 overall. And 3 years previous to that in the WAC, they were picked. So 17 straight years, the Boise State Broncos. Got to beat them. Got to knock them off.
Somebody just dethrone them. If it's not Wyoming, it can't be CSU or Air Force, because I despise them. But any other team, go ahead and dethrone them. I don't care.
How about Wyoming? At home, in the cold, in November, last home game. It sets up so good. Number 2, UNLV, I have no arguments there. They did lose their quarterback, but they have a ton of guys back on defense. They have some really good offensive line, good offensive pieces. I spoke with Ricky White, the wide receiver, the standout wide receiver, the leading wide receiver of the Mountain West last year. He played under Jay Johnson at Michigan State, and he didn't even know Jay had made the move to Wyoming, so he had nothing but glowing things to say.
Do they still have that 7-foot, 300-pound tight end?
I don't know.
I'm obviously kidding, but that guy was big.
Huge, yeah, no doubt. They have some weapons. Here's the interesting one. Fresno State, 3rd. Jeff Tedford just resigned on Monday in mid-July. Health concerns, obviously, best wishes to Jeff Tedford. He's one of the best to ever do it. But
I was shocked he was even at media day because he didn't do anything during spring ball, right?
I don't believe
he had stepped away for a while, so they probably knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And the guy that's stepping in for him right now, he was probably like, let Jeff take the. Even though we know what's happening, let him go there and have his last hurrah.
Well, and Tim Skipper I believe he spent some time at CSU. He's also the Bulldogs linebackers coach and assistant head coach. It's got to have some effect, doesn't it, to lose Jeff Tedford?
You would think so,
because whisperer like him?
Yeah, and he's so solid.
Yeah, rock solid. Yeah.
And what he said about Craig Bull, I'm sure Craig would say the same thing about Jeff Tedford.
100%. It was hilarious. I had a tongue-in-cheek conversation with Craig once, and he goes, yeah, when Jeff and I meet out at midfield before a game, he's like, we should just exchange AARP cards. And I said, you should exchange offensive fucking playbooks, too. Excuse me. Offensive playbooks, too.
Whoops. What time was that? And then the Norvell comment about meeting for a beer at the state line.
Yeah.
There's not a bar there anymore, is there?
I
haven't been
so.
down 287 forever, but I don't
neither.
think there's a bar there anymore.
Me neither.
Maybe it's a private dude ranch that he knows about that they can go have a beer
Yeah,
at.
I did Google it, and it looked like there was a ranch on the fork.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Air Force 4, that's the one that is – I don't get it. Air Force lost everybody. Yes, they can reload. Yes, they have a bunch of offensive linemen and defensive linemen who have been waiting their turn. However, how do you lose 9 guys on offense, 9 guys on defense, and continue to do what Air Force does? They've shocked us before, but 4th, with all that loss and the way they ended last year, I'm not buying that.
I just wish the Mountain West would allow Wyoming to play them at the end of the year instead of the first of the year all the time, because I always say this, Air Force is going to be beat up by the end of the year. And the national media had them as their Cinderella last year when they were 7-0 or whatever. They're going to make it all the way. Then all of a sudden they just start getting crushed.
Oh, Army punched them in the mouth in Denver.
7 turnovers or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no coming back from that. Colorado State picked 5th. I don't have an issue with Colorado State being 5th. They certainly have the dudes.
I do.
They just haven't put it together. The air raid has not clicked yet. Nicolosi just took too many chances last year. He's got a lot of promise. We saw against Wyoming, he threw picks on back-to-back drives.
He should have took one more chance if the reports are real, that the 600,000 from KU or K-State.
Kansas State, yeah. How about Jay Norvell just unloading? And I wasn't there when he did it, but Justin Michael, CSU's writer, traveled with me, and he was like, oh, wait till you see this video. Yeah, Horton was being courted.
I could see Horton. I mean, he's probably $1 million guy, really.
Probably.
Yeah.
But Nicolosi, he does. He's kind of got that gunslinger mentality. We saw it last year. We saw it backfire in Laramie. He threw a pick to Easton Gibbs and then one to Chase Uenoa, and that pretty much buried the Rams in Laramie last year. So if they can figure that stuff out, their offensive line's better. I don't really know what their running back situation is, like depth-wise, but they have some great safety play. I think what could help them or hurt them maybe is that CU game. I think if they beat CU in Canvas Stadium, that could probably vault them to at least bowl eligibility next year. They lose that game, I don't know. History tells me they put a lot of weight into that game, and then when they don't win it, things don't go very well. So
you feel bad.
Yeah, you always feel bad. Wyoming picked 6th. I get it. New coach, unproven quarterback. For those of us that are around the program, though, and Jay Savell himself, it was hilarious. I have no problem telling you this. I ran into Jay at Circa the night before he spoke, and he said, I saw your picks, which I haven't talked about my picks yet, but he said, I saw your picks, and they're BS. I picked the Cowboys 3rd.
Yeah.
He's like, damn well, like, he's very, very confidence is not an issue with him at all. He said, Evan Sabota is going to be what he's going to be. Nobody else knows that. And in reality, I don't know that. You see the ceiling. The ceiling's gigantic, and you hear all the good stuff, but you got to see it.
And knock on wood, any team, any player is one play away.
No doubt.
From being replaced. So,
and you got to feel pretty good that Jaden Clemens has hung around because he has some experience, some good, some really bad, but he has experience, and it doesn't have to go right to Caden Anderson if something wrong goes sideways. So number 7, once again, this voting was done before things went down. Number 7, Utah State. I do believe Utah State has some talent. However, Blake Anderson being unceremoniously dumped.
They didn't even just lose Blake Anderson. They lost a senior associate AD, their senior women's administrator.
Yeah, they got some big problems in Logan right now. So they were picked 7th before all that went down. San Diego State 8th.
Which is hard to believe.
Hard to believe, but I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think Sean Lewis is going to be really good, though. I wrote a story about it this week. He was the head coach at Kent State when they put 600-plus yards on the Cowboys' defense in 2021 in the Potato Bowl. They were more than efficient that day. They had 2 rushers go for over 100, two receivers over 100. Their quarterback was like 5'8", and he was dynamic. Whipped Wyoming, really. If it wasn't for Levi Williams' big day, Wyoming would have been in big trouble that day. So he told me at Media Days that's what he wants San Diego State's offense to look like. That's a scary thought because we've never seen – I haven't in my lifetime seen San Diego State's offense click on all cylinders. You could name, a couple quarterbacks in San Diego State history? The fact they have not been able to find quarterbacks down there is mind-boggling. Even a guy like Hank Bachmeier, who wasn't great at Boise State, he's from San Diego. He would have been great with the Aztecs.
Yeah, and with the success of their basketball team for the last 20 years, too, that's got to help recruiting.
New stadium.
Yeah, and the new stadium and
San Diego,
the beach, the women.
yeah, have not been able to find that quarterback.
Yeah, that is crazy that sometimes they put all their eggs in the defensive basket that they did for so long, and then their running backs.
Yep, and they were dynamic.
Tight ends, and then a punter.
yeah, for real. Yeah, everything but the QB. Even back in the day when San Diego State wasn't very good, they had NFL wide receivers, NFL tight ends, NFL linemen. No, it
must be they always think that they can develop that person, and they just haven't been able to develop that person.
That person was really bad last year. They lost 6-0 at home to Nevada. I mean, it was
and you
bad.
All know how bad Wyoming thumped Nevada and how bad that team was.
Yeah, but still, San Diego State, I have enough respect for them that I'm glad that game's in Laramie. Wyoming traditionally plays terrible in San Diego anyway. They've never been at Snapdragon Stadium yet, but I know the Murph was not friendly to the Cowboys more times than
I am
not.
looking forward to going there in 25, though, if that's the way
Yeah, absolutely. Number 9, Hawaii. Don't hate that. I'd even maybe put them a little higher. I might have. I haven't seen mine yet, but they have Braden Sager back, their quarterback. They're one of the only teams in the conference, along with CSU and Fresno State, that even has a returning quarterback. Boise State, I guess you could say, with Maddox, if he ends up being the guy. Other than that, it's all brand new. So you got 8 new coaches and probably 8 new quarterbacks.
That's
so
crazy.
I mean, it's a crapshoot, really. San Jose State, talk about a team, number 10. They lost their head coach. They lost their starting quarterback who, Shaven Cordero had been around for 20 years seemingly. So
I think I was a freshman in college when he first came in.
I know I was covering the Pittsburgh Penguins and watching a Wyoming-Hawaii game at midnight, kickoff at midnight, and he was the quarterback. So, yeah, he's been around a while. Then you got number 11, New Mexico, Bronco Mendenhall, obviously a great coach. His numbers speak for themselves. However, I really feel the Lobos are going to be a lot like Craig Bull's first 2 years in Laramie. He has to get rid of a lot of driftwood and basically start over from the ground floor. So I was shocked Bronco even took that job, to be honest with you. That's a tough job.
You know what, though? These guys, a competitor like that, even though I don't like the guy, he's a competitor, and he wants to prove that he can do it again. I mean, obviously leaving BYU, going to Virginia, and did pretty well there for a couple years.
Yeah.
And winning in the ACC at Virginia is not easy.
No doubt.
So
no doubt. I think Bronco could, if he's in there for the long haul. If he's in there for 10 years, I see a Craig Bull type of team.
I do think, though, there's one sports book that has New Mexico at only 1.5 wins. I think if you can find that at the right odds, you got to jump on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't looked at their schedule. I'm sure they have a cupcake. I know they play New Mexico State. And I don't know if that game's in Las Cruces or not, but New Mexico State starting over as well with Tony Sanchez, the former UNLV head coach. Number 12, Nevada. Jeff Choate is their head coach. He was the co-defensive coordinator at Texas last year. It was interesting. He didn't have a lot to say about Harrison Whaley or Evan Swoboda, while he was the coach at Texas in that game last year. didn't have a lot to say about that. Also didn't have much to – he's a real nice guy. He didn't have much to say about that. And then James Price, Wyoming's former wide receiver, he is on that staff at Nevada, and so is Tevis Bartlett, former Cheyenne East Thunderbird that played at Washington and started to wrestle at Wyoming, and I don't know what happened there, but he's also on that staff. So Nevada's got a ton of transfers, ton of guys from Texas, 5-6 dudes from the Longhorns that just didn't play. Nevada just – I know a guy in this industry that is so trustworthy and is such a veteran, and he said last year at that Wyoming-Nevada game that was the worst team he's ever seen Wyoming play, ever. Ever. That says a lot.
It was an ass whooping.
And it was freezing cold. It was senior night. There was 10 people in the crowd. I mean,
I was going to say, legit, 2,000?
Maybe.
And second half was half that,
Oh,
probably.
and it looked so – I didn't even go to that game. It looked so miserably cold.
I was watching that one at Billy Bob's.
Yeah. It was a good one to watch. So my choices were Boise State number 1, UNLV number 2, Wyoming number 3. I got Fresno at 4, CSU at 5, Air Force 6, Utah State 7. Of course, I might change Utah State now after Blake Anderson left. Hawaii 8, San Diego State 9, San Jose State 10, Nevada 11, New Mexico 12. I might even move Nevada down. I'm kind of shocked I took New Mexico dead last. Nevada's just, they got to show me something, anything. I mean, it's really bad. 3 Wyoming Cowboys land on the first team, Jack Walsh, John Michael Gillenborg, Jordan Bertinoli. Anybody stick out to you that was left off that list?
I guess Whaley, but you can't argue with.
They took Sherrod from Fresno State and Ashton Genty.
Genty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's legit. And Harrison was banged up a little bit last year, and he's only had, 7 games under his belt, 8 games in a Cowboy uniform.
Yeah.
So it'll be fine. He'll prove otherwise. But Wyoming's, they should be deep again at the running back spot.
Very.
So he may not get as many carries as one would think either, unless he just goes off in some games, which he can do in one snap,
He was in Vegas. He looks really good. He's put on, I want to say 17 pounds of muscle. His arms are gigantic. He looks the part. I asked him straight up.
What's wrong with 17 pounds in the offseason?
Yeah. Nothing. Except for the way I put on 17 pounds in the offseason is a lot different. He looks awesome. The thing I love about him, I said, hey, in this time of tampering and stuff, did anybody come after you? And he said no, but he said I wouldn't leave anyway. He's like, I'm bought in with Jay Salvell. He texts Jay all the time. When he got back from Vegas, Jay told us that Harrison texted him and said, hey, man, I'm at 222. He even put on some weight while he was in Vegas. So he's a really good back. And I think – but you're right. He missed the first 2 games. It was also kind of funny. Somebody said, how are you enjoying Mountain West Media Days? And he said – it's good, man. I've never been to Vegas before. And we all looked at each other and went, he was benched for the first quarter against UNLV last year, but he has most certainly been to Las Vegas. Don't know why he was benched, but he was benched for the first quarter, and he was definitely a part of that game against the Rebels last year.
Short memory.
Yeah, he's good. He's such a good kid, though. Such a good dude, well-spoken, really nice kid. And then, of course, Jordan Bertinoli, he's just a stalwart, man. He looks really good, too. And I saw John Michael Gillenborg and Alex Brown and Andrew Johnson over at and Bertinoli over at Westby's Edge here on Sunday. They came to do an NIL deal, and they just look really good, and Jay really harped on that. He said, man, our guys he said he had, 7 guys, I believe 9 guys maybe, run over 22 miles per hour last week. Guys are just burning it up. He keeps bringing up Will Pellissier. He's up 20 pounds too. He's healthy. He's bigger. He's almost hitting 23 miles per hour.
And he's on the good hands team.
And the good hands team, yes. So he talked about him so much. He actually said that, I want to say he said Evan Svoboda took a 2-step, 3-step drop and just dropped a 70-yard bomb right into the arms of Will Pellissier, just standing still, just hit him right in stride 70 yards down the field. And he said nobody does that. So he's very excited, very confident. Love hearing Jay. I wish you could hear him off the record, man. He loves this team. And we asked him about 6th place, of course, and he said they can put us wherever they want. I don't care, but that's not a 6th place team I see working their ass off every day.
And if you're in Cheyenne for the 27th, come back and go down to Westby's Edge Brewing because Jay will be there. I will not be because I'm hoping to be at the Calcutta for Shine Frontier Days.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good place to make a little side cash.
Yeah, there you go. As far as guys who were left off, Jay also mentioned Nafoa Tulifono. He said he's probably the best offensive lineman in the conference, if not the country, and he didn't get first team. He also mentioned Wyatt Eckler not getting any kind of love either in the preseason. And of course, none of this amounts to a hill of beans.
And it puts a chip on some of these guys' shoulder to prove them wrong too.
And he mentioned, I can't wait for practice to see Eckler mess up one time and go, no wonder you're not on the first team. That's why you're not on the first team. And he said he's going to do that to Fia. He's going to do that to a lot of guys. So they're just, I don't know how to explain it, man. I don't really know how to put it into words. They're so tight. He kept mentioning all the gains and the speed this offseason. And I asked those guys, what's different? We've always heard about how good the gains are and all that. And he said the difference is Craig was not the hands-on, down there in the weight room kind of cat. Jay is in the weight room every single day next to these dudes.
Doing it with them.
And he has from what I hear, has a really tight relationship with Eric Donoval, and they're in each other's ear every single day, and that apparently is not something that Bull was doing.
Well, Craig and Jay's stomachs are a little bit different too, so it shows who was working out and who wasn't.
Their age is a little different too, to be fair. So how about arguably the biggest news to come out of Mountain West Media Days? Javon Bonite, former Wyoming great, soon-to-be Hall of Famer here in a couple months, is coming back and joining this staff, which is just something people have been begging for since he left.
And I'm going to put you on the spot. Maybe you don't know the answer to this, or maybe you do. What exactly can and can't he do as an offensive analyst?
I think the rules, I'm not 100%, so take this for what it's worth. I think it's basically a free-for-all at this point. I think that you can have as many coaches on the field now as you want. You can have as many coaches as you want in the booth. They can actually coach on the field. I assume you're talking about like recruiting and stuff.
Can he wear a headset?
I'm sure, yeah. Okay. They can do all of it.
All right.
So he's an offensive analyst, and he will also help with the wide receivers. And, the wide receiver thing, let's be real. I love Mike Grant as a human being, but the numbers have not been good for a long time, whether that's his fault or not.
Well, and who knows if it was all Javon or not, but when he was at Utah State, they had some dudes.
They did.
And a couple of them, I think, are still in the league.
Yep, they are.
And then he was at Kentucky.
Yep.
Obviously had some dudes.
Yep.
Oregon for a short stint,
mm-hmm.
and then at Marshall for a year. I mean, he's coached some guys.
Yeah.
And obviously he was one hell of a player.
Yeah.
And he knows how to get open. Because he wasn't a speedster by any means. He just knew how to get open.
And he was elusive. He is the all-time all-purpose yards leader in Wyoming football history. So you don't think that guy can help a kick returner, a punt returner, help him say, hey, do you see this on the backside that you could have made this cut?
Maybe you could teach a couple of them to throw a touchdown like he did.
His touchdown wasn't very pretty, but it was effective. Love having Javon back. He's a great human being, a great guy, a Wyoming legacy, and don't get it twisted. Jay Savell knows that guy is beloved here, and he also knows that he's worth his salt. So excited to have that on.
I don't know how old his kids are, but I'm sure some of the junior high coaches are like, yes.
Yes, thank God. Yeah, and as far as I know, it's a one-year type deal so far. He reached out to Jay. Jay told me he reached out to him, said he was very interested. And now that there's no rules against how many analysts you have and all that, here comes Javon Bonite.
Well, I do remember that, and gosh, maybe I shouldn't even speak about this, but when Christensen got the job, Javon wanted to stay around, and he did for a little bit, and knew that he didn't want to be underneath Dave.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't get along.
No, I've heard that story a time or two from 10 or so people. Since last time we were on the air, too, new TV contract for the Mountain West. They have not released the terms, but TNT, it looks like TNT could make a serious run here when this contract is up and try and get Oregon State and Washington State on board because they're losing NBA basketball. TNT could be a juggernaut here coming right up in college football.
But you're also reading some stuff from national sports writers that maybe the Mountain West doesn't really care if Washington State and Oregon State come in.
Yeah.
And it's a viable point, really.
Really, they're sitting on their war chest right now that they got from the
$275 million, folks.
Yep.
These two schools have.
But what the writer, I can't remember the writers, is it Dodd?
Dodds.
Yeah, he mentioned,
Dennis
though,
Dodd.
that's going to go away. They don't have any TV rights this year. They don't have money coming in, so they are going to survive off that. And I don't blame them for not making a knee-jerk move and just joining the Mountain West. They have the money to float for a couple years, and I think they're banking on themselves. What if – I don't think it's likely, but what if Oregon State goes 10-2 this year and just dominates, and then they get people thinking, the ACC going, maybe Stanford needs a travel partner, and we might as well take Wazoo too, and they can travel with Cal.
Yeah, I think really in the back of their mind, they're thinking that the Big Ten deal and the ACC deal is not going to work out, and these other schools are going to come back.
No,
but I mean, it's got to be at least 4 years down the road or even longer, because
even if they come back, do they want you?
Can you imagine what the penalty is to leave one of those conferences?
No, because the penalty to leave the Mountain West is $18 million, and then $36 million if you do it within a year?
Speaking of millions, Dan Patrick show this morning, they were talking about all these coaches that are out of the business getting paid.
Oh.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
The one that,
Jimbo.
Yeah. Oh, Jimbo doesn't ever have to do anything ever again.
$7.7 million for the next 10 years. So $77 million. But then he was throwing out some names, and I was like, who?
Yeah.
The Georgia Tech coach that got fired is owed $11 million.
Wow.
I didn't know Georgia Tech paid that kind of money for a football coach.
I couldn't tell you their coach.
I can't remember the guy's name, but I'm like, what?
Wow.
And then he rattled off like 5 of them. He was laughing the whole time.
It's crazy. I mean, they're good for them. They're doing their thing, and they're making their money. I know somebody who I've heard tell me a story about it is Dana Dimmel. When he got fired at Houston, he said, I bought a ranch, and I lived off my Houston money for years. And, I mean, he made, for those of you that don't like Dana Dimmel or still have bad feelings toward him, he made no money at Wyoming. None. Houston backed up the Brinks truck to a, 37-year-old man at the time who was making, I think he was making like $200,000 a year at Wyoming. I mean, it was bad. And he got more than $1 million to go to Houston. He did say the first spring practice or the spring game, he went inside the Astrodome and there was nobody there. And he's like, holy cow, I made a huge mistake. But
and you think about if he was only making that, what was Tiller making?
Oh, yeah.
And when Tiller left, it wasn't about what he was going to make. It was about he wanted a bigger pool for his assistants. And at that point, Lee Moon said no.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, but Dana now finds himself in the unemployment line as well. He was fired at UTEP. I doubt he's cashing millions by any means now, but and it sucks for Dana because he didn't have success at Houston, but he didn't leave the cupboard empty. And then all of a sudden, Art Briles comes in and kills it with his players, and Art Briles ends up at making millions at Baylor and screwing himself up. So it's weird, but good for these dudes. I wrote that column in the middle of last year that something has to give here with Craig Bohl. He's got 1 year left. There's no way in hell he's going into a final year unless it's and he ain't that kind of guy either. A retirement tour, he ain't doing that.
No, it was probably the best kept secret.
Yeah.
At the time,
yeah.
He and Berman are probably their significant others are probably the only ones that knew.
Yep. Well, Berman said he put it on his calendar and it said, "Oh shit."
Yeah, because he had a meeting scheduled.
Yep, the day after Nevada, he knew.
Yep,
he knew it was over. Let's see. Yeah, some of the guys Jay Sauvel was bringing up as far as just the speed and the size and how impressed he is with them, and he expects big years. Sebastian Harsh, Braden Siders, and boy, do they need some more juice off the edge, man. That's what that team was lacking last year was a real pass rush. And I believe Devon Harris told me he had 120 less pass rushes last year because so many times they went with a 3-man front to slow down some of these passing attacks they faced last year. So that does hurt. But you get those guys. He talked about Will Pellissier a lot. He talked about Alex Brown a lot. And boy, I talked about it on Brady Hull's show today. The thing I love personally about Jay Sauvel is right when he got this job, he went up to a guy like Alex Brown, which we've all sat around for years wondering when this cat's going to break out. He's got all the speed, the size, the whole nine. He went right up to Alex and said, "I'm your biggest fan. You are going to have a good year." And he talks to him every single day and pumps him up every single day, which is something after talking to Alex Brown that certainly isn't hurting because let's just say he hadn't had that the last couple of years.
Yeah, we all hope that he does because that is, the wide receiver spot, as you mentioned just a little while ago. It's been lacking.
Oh, yeah. And it shouldn't.
Nair had one good season.
Yeah.
But, since Gentry, there hasn't been anything.
But guys last year like Asante was playing 25 snaps. Wyatt Whelan, God bless him, he was a great player. He's playing 50 snaps. How do you justify that when Ayer Asante caught, 22 balls and 8 of them were touchdowns? And we saw the same with Isaiah Nair. He was just catching every single thing thrown his way. And it just, I don't know how you don't utilize those guys, but good news is coming. That's what Jay Johnson and this offense plan to do, is utilize their weapons. Yep. And they told me before spring, we're going to count down our top 10 offensive playmakers, and those are the 10 that are going to play most, and we need to get the ball in their hands. And TK King's one. He's the transfer wide receiver from Texas Tech. He's almost clipping 23 miles per hour, which is not a shock to anyone. Evans also bigger, stronger, faster than he was, believe it or not. Caden Barnett's a guy that Jay Savell brought up that he's dropped like 15 pounds, and he looks amazing, and he's playing the same way. And Jones Thomas, he's a young safety. He's also damn near clipping 23. And Whaley. Whaley is just a freak of nature, and he looks the part.
In all honesty, how fast do you think you could run? I'm just...
I'll tell you what, man. For a fat dude, when I get going downhill, I can get going. Like, I used to steal bases.
If you do it, please do it on grass.
I used to steal bases, believe it or not, when I played
baseball. But you weren't that big.
No, I wasn't this big. But people would still be like, that guy ain't going anywhere.
I'm just
gone.
I don't even want to try because I have 2 artificial knees. But I'm just curious, what. I don't know if I could get to 10, to be honest. I don't honestly have no idea even how to.
Nick Seaman wanted me to run through the drills at Pro Day, and I was just thinking to myself, man, watch me tear a freaking hamstring or something.
Speaking of somebody who, let's put him on the spot. How fast can you run, Nick?
I can outrace Nick.
Okay.
I'll put it down right now. I have no problem saying that.
Challenge.
Nick?
All right.
Yep. Nick, you're in trouble.
During media day.
Single game tickets are on sale, by the way. Idaho and BYU are going very fast. I put the link in a story earlier this week. Both of those say limited tickets left. I looked through today. Limited tickets are left. So Idaho and BYU are going to be sellouts right off the bat. Cowboys rolling in on a 7-game home winning streak.
And they open up with Air Force as the first conference game.
There could very well be 3 sellouts at War Memorial Stadium to start the year. And I don't know exactly what attendance is going to be now with the new. I don't know how many it's taken away.
It goes down like 1,000, I think.
Yeah, not
something
much.
like that.
Not much.
And then it'll go, actually probably a little bit more. It goes down this year. Then it'll go back up once they have the Loge area available.
Yep. I can't wait. Selfishly, I can't wait for next summer because that's when they're tearing down the press box. Yep. And, man, that's going to be so sweet. Can't even imagine. I think I've told you guys this before, but after a game, they literally tell you in October, November, they literally say, if you need to go to the bathroom, you better go now because they shut the pipes off because they'll freeze. So you're up there for 4 or 5 hours with no bathroom and no water. So it's long overdue. Selfishly, very long overdue. Couple things to wrap up here. Best of Colorado series. We only have 2 more on this thing, and this one's been fun.
Who can it be?
I've actually had people wonder openly who it's going to be. To me, I guess I'm not shocked at all, and I think they're kind of in a way interchangeable.
And we talked when we were doing this list. It was harder to pare down 25 Coloradoans than it was to pare down 25 Wyomingites.
Yeah.
In my opinion, we left one Wyoming guy off the list that we should have had on there. If we would have probably had a discussion, I think we probably could have got him on there.
Yeah.
But Colorado, I think, probably nailed it, to be honest with you.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It really is. Well, and to be fair and to be transparent, when we did the top 50 Wyoming players of all time, we all sat in a room and we hashed it out.
Debated it, yeah.
We debated it. For instance, I want to say Gagliardi mentioned like top 3 Marcus Epps. And we were like, whoa, what the hell? Like, come on. And then we looked at his stats and went, damn.
Yeah.
It's not top 3, but top
higher
10.
than he was, yeah.
Top 10.
Yeah.
I would have put that guy, I would have thought initially, like, he ain't even getting in the top 25. After, so that's what it did. Yep. Gagliardi definitely was wrong about him being top 5, but he sure as hell wasn't wrong about him being in there and being high.
And that's what it takes is somebody to really bring that to your attention.
Yeah.
And it happens with the Hall of Fame discussions over there. They do it all the time. Like, oh man, when you look at it and you think about it, yeah, that guy is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I want to say Kevin McKinney said Ken Fantetti was the number one player in Wyoming history. And obviously we're not buying that, but top 10. And that's the thing, like we get a lot of crap. I get a lot of crap going, oh, recency bias. The other day somebody on Twitter put who's the most athletic player in Wyoming football history or Wyoming athletics history. I put Josh Allen, obviously, Jay Novacek, and then basketball, Josh Adams. And somebody called me out on recency bias. And I'm like, those are guys I've seen with my own eyes.
But when you have to think athlete. Not just football, not just basketball, athlete.
Yeah.
And
Jeff Boyle could be in that.
When somebody brought up Aaron Kirby, I was like, hell yes.
Yeah.
She was that good.
Yeah.
And she probably could have done another sport. Jessica Cross was one that played basketball and was an Olympian in track, and she's from Powell.
Yeah.
Greg Sawyer.
Yeah. Well, and you would know some of these.
Jay Novacek.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at athleticism, and you can say Josh Allen because we know that he played basketball, he played baseball, he's a hell of a golfer. He picked it up.
Yeah.
And he's on TV golfing.
Well, and we saw what he did on the football field as far as just scrambling and arm ability. And to me, the most impressive play in Josh Allen history is the near pick six he threw in the Mountain West title game and chased the cat down and caused the touchback. This is his best play I've ever seen.
And that is one that you thought that they would have brought up on draft day.
No doubt.
And showed that.
No doubt.
Never appeared. I'm like, that
was it.
And that's hard.
And that's hard. That's the guy you want on your team.
Yes.
You know he's chasing that dude down. And Casey ended up being an NFL guy. And he chased him down.
Shame on you, Mel Kiper.
yeah. Do your homework, Mel. Yeah. And then you talk about guys like Jeff Boyle and Dusty Hofschneider. And I mean.
Well, John Cogdell.
Yeah.
He's in the Hall of Fame because he was a WAC champion wrestler and he was an offensive lineman.
Guy like Cole Goodbow, too. He was a state champion wrestler. And that's what's cool about Wyoming is they want guys like that. I heard Sundance Wicks talking last week that if you haven't won a state title or been part of a state title at any level and you haven't won at any level, you're not playing at the University of Wyoming. And that's that. I mean, you can be a star on a team that wins 10 games a year, but that ain't cutting it. So I love it.
Well, it just, developed the winning attitude as well and being a part of winning.
Yep. Recruiting tracker for UW, 8 guys right now. Asked Jay Sawvell at Mountain West Media Days if he's happy with that. He's very happy with that. They don't have a lot of scholarships, honestly. So whatever seniors are leaving this year, and we're finally getting out of the COVID disaster, this will be the last year of it. The Alex Browns, the Jordan Bertnolis, the 6-year guys. Once they're gone. But other than that, man, they don't have a lot of scholarships. Not to mention, we've seen this the last 2 years in recruiting. They're bringing in a lot of preferred walk-ons. So a lot of those guys they believe in. So they're going to be handing out some scholarships to some guys who are already on campus. And in talking to Ryan Thorburn, who now obviously works for the university, he's been able to watch these practices and watch these weights and be in the weight room. And Jay Sawvell backed up his claim. He said, man, this incoming freshman class is really good. They mentioned a kid. I have his name written down here. Dash Bauman. He was a pickup this year. I'm writing a story about him. He was a pickup this year in December, signed with the Cowboys out of Lincoln, Nebraska. I believe he went to the same high school as Aaron Bull did. He already is calling him Chad Muma 2.0. Said he looks just like him, has the same measurements, the whole shebang. So he expects. And what kind of coaches are throwing stuff out like that? Like, oh, yeah, we have a true freshman on campus. He's Chad Muma 2.0. And you're like, what? I mean, that raises your antenna. Coaches don't talk like that. Craig Bowl would have never said that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that'll raise your antenna.
Aaron can say all he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, basketball did put in a FOIA to UW on basketball, and they got back to me on what we know so far about the basketball schedule. I'm trying to find it here. We do know BYU's coming to town.
And that would be hosting football, BYU in football and basketball for the first time since they left the Mountain West.
The first time, and pretty confident in saying the last time ever.
Yeah.
They are not coming back. I do want to share with you, though, on the air that I did talk to a BYU beat writer while I was in Vegas. He said their quarterback situation is absolutely awful, the worst he's ever seen in his lifetime. He literally told me with his own mouth he expects bottom 30 in the United States of America in quarterback play from BYU, which is just wild to hear.
I'm tearing up right now.
Yeah, oh, me too. I was definitely crying while I was talking to him. Unbelievable. And it's not shocking. In looking at BYU early on, they have some real unprovens. That's not to say they're not going to have some cat come out and tear it up, but they don't have the dude that they usually have and the backup dude they usually have. So that's interesting. And also, he mentioned that he thinks sources have told him that they might try and buy out this basketball game in Laramie and try and move it to Salt Lake City to the Delta Center. I don't know if that's for sure. I'm just saying what he told me. It would make sense. I'm sure BYU has no desire to be in Laramie, but also does Tom Berman just say, not F you maybe, but no chance, dude. This is our last time we're ever going to talk.
Well, Tom did say he was never going to schedule BYU, and he went back on that. But he almost had to, at this point. But, I would hope that he would say no and make them come to Laramie because they'll never come here again.
And Wyoming can't get anybody good to come here in the non-conference season.
And when's the last time Wyoming had a Big 12 opponent in the
Texas Tech and Casper?
Yeah, but in Laramie.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I don't think one in my lifetime. I think Creighton's probably the best team I've seen in Laramie in my lifetime.
Yep. And Cincinnati before that and Louisville.
Yeah, and that was before my time.
Yep.
But yeah. No, it's a rarity. So I could imagine Tom says, you know what, I'm never going to be dealing with BYU again. So I'm shocked they didn't buy this game out. And
what's the current date of the BYU game?
December 7th, I want to say. Yeah, December 7th in Laramie. That's the day after the Mountain West title game. Could you imagine?
So it is a Saturday.
Yep. And the title game's Friday.
You have to keep that game in Laramie.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Wyoming is somehow, some way hosting the Mountain West title game and then plays BYU in basketball the next day in Laramie?
Bars are open all night.
Oh, man. That would be good. Jay Sawvell did mention the same reporter asked Jay some questions about BYU, and he said that he knows full well he's been around this state. Jay's been doing all those things that head coaches do now, which is a lot of stuff that is outside of football, and that includes traveling around the state and meeting people. And he said everybody has come up to him and said, you have to beat BYU. You have to. So he is fully aware how big this is. I have a feeling he's going to have something special geared up for that week. I mean, for instance, you have a Talich on your team. You have a dad and an uncle you could talk to right away about their hatred of BYU, for instance. But
Shenbeck and Kahuna Poker just down the road. Oh. Galen Faction's right there in Laramie.
People be licking their chops to come talk about BYU. So he did talk about that, but he also mentioned that Craig Bohl, after they lost to BYU in 2022 in Provo, he came up to him in the locker room after the game and said there's no way they're going to be back. They're not going to make that return trip to Laramie. To BYU's credit, they're coming to Laramie. And I hate giving credit to them, as you know. I also hate giving credit to the University of Utah, but they're coming to Laramie next year. And COVID wiped out the trip the Utes were going to make to Laramie. They stuck with it. Utes are coming to Laramie next year. So you got to give credit where credit's due. I hate Nebraska. They came to Laramie. Kudos to them, too.
I'm wondering if this is Whittingham's final hurrah because they've already named a coach in waiting now.
John or Sally.
And, you can say all you want about Whittingham. Yeah, he can be an asshole.
Yeah.
But he is one hell of a football coach.
No
That's all
doubt.
there is to it.
Well, we talked before we came on the air. Utah's the toughest team in America.
Yeah.
They really are. I mean, they are huge, tough, strong. They're already picked to win the Big 12. March right in and win the Big 12.
And Wyoming's first opponent, ASU, is down at the bottom of the Big 12.
As Sundance Wicks would say, DFL, dead effing last, which is where Sundance Wicks wants to be picked. He wants to be picked DFL. Jay Sawvell on the flip side, he doesn't care, but he does.
Speaking of, since it's Sundance, and his replacement at Green Bay, as we all know now, is Doug Gottlieb.
Yep.
He came out on his radio show the other day and said that Bronny James would not start for Green Bay.
Oh.
And maybe he wouldn't. Who knows, I guess. I don't know. But it's kind of funny. Of course, he's getting clicks about it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Dan Patrick kind of laughed about it and said, if you don't think that Bronny would start for your team, would Caitlin Clark start for your team?
What do you say to that?
I don't know if he's answered yet.
He's thinking about it. So what we do know is Saturday, November 10th, the mighty Tennessee State, whoever they are, is coming to Laramie. That's a Saturday 1 p.m. game. That is on Wyoming's football bye week, by the way. So Saturday, November 16th, Utah Tech coming to Laramie.
Who?
Wyoming plays at CSU that Friday in football. November 22nd, Southeast Louisiana. They are coming to Laramie. That's a Friday. Wyoming hosts Boise State the next day in War Memorial Stadium.
And remember, Mountain West basketball conference games start in early December this year.
Yeah, with that extra game, that's hugely helpful. That's part of the Cancun Challenge. The Cowboys will host Southeastern Louisiana, and then they will head to Cancun on the November 26th and 27th to play in that that holiday tournament. Then they come home Tuesday, December 3rd to take on Portland, a team that I think that was probably, aside from Fresno State last year, the most disappointing loss of the season.
That was an ass whooping.
Yeah, to go get killed at a team like Portland, that was really embarrassingly bad. Then Saturday, December 7th, for now, BYU in town. The Mountain West title game is the day before in Laramie. We calling it?
Friday Night Lights.
And then Thursday, December 19th, Bellarmine.
They're actually pretty damn good.
Is that Nebraska?
No, they're in, I think they're in Kentucky.
Huh. Oh, I think you're right. You're right.
But
they beat Kentucky or Louisville.
They've put some beatings on some teams.
That's right. Wyoming's paying them. I saw the whole contracts and stuff. Yeah, they're in Louisville. They're paying them $90,000 to come to Laramie.
I think they gave UCLA. They may have beat UCLA a couple years ago, or at least gave them a run for their money.
I'm certain they beat Louisville because our buddy Matt Ozzie is a huge Louisville fan, and I know he was less than thrilled.
Just drink some bourbon, Matt. Get over
it. He's good at that, too. All right. Well, it's Frontier Days week. I don't even know if I'll see you next week aside from drinking.
I'll get you a pass. See, you should see him. He's got little puppy dog eyes.
Yeah, please give me a pass. I can't believe I'm a Cheyenne, Wyoming native and I don't have hookups for Frontier Days.
It'll probably be on Monday.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
But for all you listeners out there who don't know who Turnpike Troubadours are, they're opening Frontier Days tomorrow night. They will by far be the best concert of the week.
Excited to see them.
They are so good.
How about it's the year of the Cowgirl, and they have one female singer?
I think a lot of it is the female artists just have not done well ticket-wise here for some reason. And when Miranda Lambert was here last time, she actually paid Frontier Days back some money because she underperformed. She said, guys, I didn't do very good. Here's some money back.
Wow. You don't hear about that every day. You know, so we both love Whiskey Myers. Saw them last year. Are they maybe not a big venue type of... The crowd was just kind of...
But being an opener, you only get 45 minutes-ish.
But they don't really play that music that gets you necessarily...
There's some, serenades, Broken Window Serenades, a really slow song, but it's very well written. Oh, it's amazing. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I saw them out at Terry Bison a couple years ago out there in the pasture. They were great.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you think last year at Frontier Days there was something missing? Something kind of
I think
off?
some of it was they hurried. They had to hurry. And they didn't get to play their entire set.
Yeah, they did miss a couple of songs and I was like, wow, that's shocking.
But yeah, I can see why people were that, but I was actually getting texts during it like, these guys are horrible. What are you talking about? And then 2 weeks later, I actually listened to them. They're pretty good.
They're amazing. They're amazing. Yep. You can sit and listen to that all day. And I think seeing them at Billy Bob's would be killer.
Oh, absolutely.
But compared to the big-ass Frontier Days grandstands, I just didn't know if it fit. Texas Honky Tonk.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Or Red Rocks even would be great to see.
And I think they did play at Red Rocks.
Yeah, they did earlier
recently.
this year.
Yeah. Well, I've got Marilyn Manson coming up. He's coming to Denver.
Well, I know you're going to Machine Gun Kelly.
I've never heard of her. The other female artist that's going to be at Frontier Days. No, I've never heard of her.
The blood drinking one?
Yeah. I've got 6 Feet Under coming. I've got Hatebreed. I've got some good metal shows coming up.
Man, I hope you get your bonus.
That's where I need you folks to come in. Read my stories.
I've renewed some sponsors recently, so they're starting up in August.
August is the busy time around here where we get going and figure some stuff out.
Lots of sports renewals coming up.
So Frontier Days is kind of our last hurrah where we can let our hair down for the last time. And then I already got my tickets for Tempe, $90 round trip tickets to Tempe. So
what are you going at 5:30 in the morning, coming back at midnight?
Yes. I am leaving at 7:40 in the morning on Sunday. Dad life.
It's better to get out of there anyway, because if it is 120 degrees, you could be delayed and you could be there all day.
Yeah.
So leaving in the morning, early morning there is a good idea.
One thing before we close that I want to see if you're into, I think it's the nerdiest thing in the world, and I have no problem calling Alex Taylor out on this, University of Wyoming beat writer for the Tribune Eagle for WYO Sports. He is such a nerd. He took a week off. He's on his week off vacation right now to play that college football video game.
I wouldn't go that far, but I'm 50-50 on if I'm actually going to buy a PlayStation, because that was the last game that I ever played.
Game Breaker?
Video.
Game Breaker's the last one I ever played.
No, the last EA Sports college football.
Oh.
When it was out.
That was 14 or something.
Yeah, that was the last one I ever played.
Yeah.
So I'm close, or I just might have one of the boys. I just might buy it and have it, and when they come home for holidays and stuff like that, I said, make sure you bring your PlayStation, because I'm going to whip your ass in some college football.
The graphics look cool and everything.
I did see that the sign, the big video board says Wyoming University.
Yeah, that's gross.
Come on, EA Sports, get it right.
That's gross.
That's like some of the recruits that say, we got an offer from Wyoming University. Oh, yeah, that kid's signing. He doesn't even know where he's going.
The minute I see that, I'm like, he's not coming here. Might as well not even write anything about him. Yep, that's a shout-out to you, Alex. And I know Justin Michael down at CSU, he's nerding it up right now. They already have welts on their fingers. And save some women for us, fellas.
I do love it when I see just tweets out there saying, like, I already put a beat down on Ohio State, Michigan 100, Ohio State 0. Just stuff like that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Who the hell has time to play games like that these days? I mean, you're not 12 anymore. It can't be easy to find time to
take your week paid vacation off, I guess.
Yep, Alex is doing it right. He's living it up, man. He ain't listening to this, that's for sure.
Alex, I really don't know you that well, but you might want to find another hobby.
I tell him that all the time. Right on. Well, thank you for joining us. Football starts July 21st in Laramie, and we are 31st. Yeah, 31st, thank God. And we are actually it's open practice for the media, so we're excited to go see it and kind of see the structure of what they're doing, and then after that, shutting down, and I think we'll get to talk to players 2 times a week for the next month.
Is there going to be a fall media day like they're normal?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we don't know when. Yeah, and we might as well announce Peyton Holstrom, a student at UW, talked to her on the phone yesterday for 15, 20 minutes. Real nice girl. She's interested in the sports journalism world, and I think she's going to intern for us this year, and she's going to come up for the opening practice on the 31st, and she seems really she has a little bit of Wyoming
experience at Wyoming Public Radio.
Yeah, Wyoming Public Radio, and she actually went out of her way and started covering some sports for them. So,
and her mom is a huge fan.
Awesome.
Huge fan. Rock Springs.
Yeah, that's great, man. She seems really nice, really dialed in, so I'm excited for her. She seems like a real go-getter, and she's excited to cover some stuff that maybe we've neglected a little bit. She'll do some features on some volleyball and some basketball and women's basketball, stuff like that. So excited to have her. Always, we've talked about it forever, Jared. Excited to have somebody with boots on the ground who lives in Laramie, because as we all know, the weather can turn its ugly head any minute, and if what I've read so far and what I've heard from her so far, if she has to cover a men's basketball game and send it my way to edit, it sounds like we're going to be in good shape.
Yep, so, I think so.
Yeah, so thank you for finding her, and excited to meet her, and I love working with go-getters, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Welcome aboard, Peyton.
Yep, absolutely. So we will hit you up. I don't know about next week. I don't know if we'll be...
I am going to throw this out, though. Maybe we do it Thursday morning and have Shayla on live with us.
Yeah.
Before she goes.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Would she be able to come down here, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I'm speaking for her because I don't know what her schedule is on Wednesday, where she's coming from. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, we'll play it by ear because honestly, we're probably not going to hear any more football news or hoops news or anything over the next week. But obviously, we'll be hitting it hard. We'll have, I assume, our 7220 sports kickoff show again this fall. So that'll be starting, of course, Arizona State week and going through.
Being sold as we speak.
Excellent. Well, that'll be fun. So awesome, Jared. Appreciate you as always. Excited for Frontier Days. It's going to be fun. We'll have to have a couple of Cowboy Kool-Aids tomorrow night at Turnpike Troubadours.
Definitely going to be doing that. I already made sure that Roxanne said she's going to drive for us tomorrow night, and I'll drive for Laney next week.
Thanks, Roxanne. You didn't know you were taking me, but I appreciate it. All right, guys. Have a good week.